Simon Yates, winner of the Vuelta a España. Adam Yates, 4th overall and best young rider at the Tour de France. Johnny Brownlee, twice world champion. Alistair Brownlee, double Olympic gold medalist. All racing head to head. This is the ultimate lineup to settle the debate of our times, roadie versus triathlete. There's been plenty of friendly rivalry and banter between roadies and triathletes since the latter first took off their cycling socks and put on Speedos instead. Sorry, cheap shot? Anyway, it's clear that the very best triathletes are absolutely incredible at all three disciplines, but now we get to see what, if anything, separates the best from the best at bike riding. So with the help of Scott, who as part of their week of pro athlete group rides and workouts on Zwift, have now supplied 2 of the very best triathletes on the planet and 2 of the very best road riders, and the 4 of them are going to go head to head over just 13.9 kilometres, but 9.5 of them are up Zwift's Epic KOM. Oh, and Mark Threlfall and I are also going to join just to add some perspective.
Adam, Simon, firstly, thank you for joining us at GCN on this race today. Really hoping that you'll be more than a match for the Brownlee brothers. But before we go ahead with the race, I wanted to ask you a couple of questions. Firstly, how much you know about Alistair and Johnny?
Oh, of course, some of the best in the world at what they do. So it's going to be a tough matchup, I think. But we'll try and give it to them and see how we go.
You're both sets of you are endurance specialists, and whilst this, I guess, is technically an endurance event, it's a very short one. It's going to be roughly half an hour long, let's say. So from that point of view, a bit of flat, a bit of climbing at the end, short race. Who do you think that's going to suit most?
I think on paper you'd probably say us because they're more used to doing a bit long distance. But yeah, you never know. I think we're also a little bit of a disadvantage. I don't know where they are based in a minute, but we're based in Andorra. At the minute, so we're actually at a quite high altitude, which obviously affects a few things.
Yeah, they said they're in Colombia at 4,000 meters at the moment.
No,
I don't know where they are actually, but I'm presuming in the UK somewhere, and therefore not at altitude. Right, I want to talk to you about tactics. Firstly, how you two are going to ride together against the Brownlees, but also how you're going to use Cy, preferably in the early stages.
I think what we'll do is we'll use Cy early on. He's going to be a good man on the flat, I imagine, and he can cover any moves for us. And then we can do our thing on the climb. That's what we're best at, and that's what we're known for. So once we get to climb, we can set off and do our thing.
Yeah, he should be good on the flat. You've obviously seen his ankles. And finally, Simon, talk us through your setups for today. Not just your indoor setups, but also the bike that you're going to be using in-game.
In real life, I'll be using the Addict RC, the new one for 2020. And I'll be using that with a Tax home trainer. And then in game, we'll be using the Scott foil. With Shimano components.
Wish you both the best of luck, and to Cy, of course, he'll need it more than you two. Be very interested to see how it goes, but yeah, have a good one.
Cheers.
Do you think that there might be any sort of weaknesses that you're going to be able to expose from the brothers when you're giving them a bit of a nudge soon?
I don't think they're going to have any weaknesses going up a hill. The only weaknesses I think of is if their turbos are reading a little bit low or something. That's the only thing I hope for. Obviously, I've watched them both on TV and they're incredibly strong, and it's going to be a very, very hard half an hour or so. So in a normal week, we train between 30 and 35 hours a week, somewhere between 15 and 20 hours of cycling, 7 or 8 of swimming, up to 10 hours of running, and a couple of gym sessions on top of that.
You do quite a lot of that together, right?
Normally, yeah. Obviously, it's a bit difficult in these times to train, but yeah, normally, the vast majority of that, apart from very specific sessions, we do together.
So Dan asked the brothers earlier on about whether they might be able to use Simon from GCN as a little bit of a domestique. I'm wondering if you guys might want to recruit Mark to come in and help out in any way whatsoever. Do you think that's possible?
Yeah, Mark, can you just go as hard as you can for the first 5k of the climb for us, please? That's a good lad.
Not long to go now until the start, so didn't think I was going to be nervous about racing triathletes, but well, it turns out I am, mainly because I've just been listening to Dan's interview with Simon and Adam, and they very kindly involved me in their race tactics, which, well, like I say, it's an honour. It's been 8 years since I raced against those guys, so and I wasn't really very good back then either, so yeah, we'll see.
What a race we have in store for you today. Two of the best triathletes that the world has ever seen against two of the best climbers in the current pro peloton. And triathletes and roadies not just represented here in Zwift today, but also in the commentary box. You've got me, former roadie, but we've also got Fraser Cartmel, former triathlete. Fraser, what do you expect in the early stage of the race today?
Well, Dan, I guess instantly we're going to look at Johnny and Alistair as being underdogs against world-class World Tour riders, but they are fantastic riders in their own right, and they are not shy of going uphill fast. So I really think they're going to be able to give it to Adam and Simon from the get-go here. So I'm not going to be surprised if we see them giving them a nudge.
Incredible athletes, the Brownlee brothers, and I'm in agreement with you there, Fraser. I think that they could take this. They certainly couldn't be written off in terms of this climb up the Epic KOM at the end of the day. Can we write our presenters off? Well, we probably can, yes, but we're expecting to see something from them in the early stages of the race, because they need to show themselves at one point of the race, of course, and then go as hard as they can all the way to the finish in the battle of triathletes versus roadies. Well, this is Cy Richardson, GCN, as you can see at the back here. Has he already dropped? No, he's back on. In fact, it looks like there's a cheeky little drop off the back there and launched an attack immediately, Fraser. We're only 1 minute or so into this race, 14 kilometres to remind you all of how long the distance is, but Cy Richardson is already off the front.
I mean, I don't know what you think, Dan, but I'd say that's quite a bold attack that Simon has put down there. I mean, long way to go and a lot of climbing yet to undertake.
Remains to be seen just how long Cy is going to last there out the front and how easy they go behind him. Looking good at the moment, though, Fraser.
He is, but I'm seeing the shadows coming through already.
Yeah, I think I spoke slightly too soon. Cy Richardson off the front of today's race for 52 seconds and almost immediately off the back.
It does look like that, doesn't it? I'm not sure that Simon is going to be wishing he'd put that early dig in so soon.
Who is that breathing? Jesus Christ.
I think it's me.
7 watts per kilo up there for Alistair. Simon's on 7.1. Jonathan was hovering around about the same power to weight as well. And it's no wonder, Fraser, that our two presenters are not struggling, I wouldn't say, but we heard a lot of heavy breathing from Cy Richardson at the start, and I'm sure Mark's feeling the pain as well now.
They're very much being thrown into the fire here. This is not something that they are particularly used to having to deal with, considering we've got some of the best athletes, as you've said already, in the world competing. So I'm impressed that they're still riding as close as they are to the four of them.
We have our first casualty, Cy Richardson, paying for his early efforts today. He's currently at just over 6 seconds behind this group of 5. So we're down to 5 from an initial race of 6 riders. All still to play for amongst these riders, should I say, but it's not looking quite so good for the roadies versus triathletes, because we have 3 triathletes in here and just 2 roadies left. Well, as you can see from the gradient graphic there on the right-hand side of your screen, we are on the lower slopes now of the Epic KOM, so I'll remind you of the overall climbing stats. Distance is 5.9 miles or 9.5 kilometres. Average gradient is 3.9%, but with a max of 10.7. And towards the end, there are in fact a couple of small downhills before the final kick up towards the finish. Just looking here, Fraser, it looks like we've got a couple of riders going off the front. That looks to be Simon Yates and Johnny Brownlee there, and that is putting Mark into a bit of trouble here at the back.
It is, which, let's be honest, we're not too surprised to see the second of our presenters getting shelled off the back. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see if that is Johnny with the other Yates brother, because that is That's significant. I would have expected Alistair perhaps to make the first move.
Here is Johnny Brownlee at the front. Simon Yates now sat on his wheel. Actually, the other brothers, I think, are coming back on. And I think very quickly, we are going to have 4 riders back together again. It's all to play for. Well, this has been the steadiest part of the climb, as you can see, 6 to 7%, pretty much all the way up the first part of the Epic KOM. All still together, but just as I say that, this looks to be a big acceleration from Simon Yates of Mitchelton-Scott. Will there be a reaction from those behind? Of course, his brother Adam is now just going to sit on the Brownlee brothers, but at the moment, that looks like a decent attack. Again, daylight opening up between them. Mark Frelfel has lost another 19 seconds. He's at 1 minute and 16. And he's still 24 seconds in front of our Cy Richardson. Come on, Cy, you've got to make it up to Mark. Lots of athletes, cyclists and triathletes have been forced inside over the last few weeks, particularly if they've been living in Spain. So I know that certainly the Yates twins have been doing a fair bit of Zwifting, and I know that the Brownlee brothers as well. So they'll know the tactics to employ, but tactics only go so far. After that, it's the legs that have to do the talking, and it's Simon Yates' legs that are very much doing the talking here today. 13.3 kilometres through this event now, which means that he has less than 700 metres to go before a potential win. But his lead has been slashed. It was 13 seconds. It is now down to just 7 seconds to the Brownlee brothers, who still have Adam Yates for company, who's sitting on their wheel in 4th position. As you can see behind, though, that trio of riders very much have him in their sights, but have they got enough left to bring him back before the finish? Just a matter of 50 metres before Simon Yates declares himself the winner of this race. There he goes, Simon Yates taking the win in today's competition. I think it's going to be Alistair Brownlee who takes 2nd place, just in front of Adam Yates. So it's 1st and 3rd for roadies, 2nd and 4th for the triathletes, as Johnny Brownlee crosses the line in 4th place. Mark should be coming out to the line very shortly indeed. In fact, there he can see the finish line arch in front of him. Just a few more seconds of pain to go until he can stop pedalling.
And I don't doubt that that's not a lot of pain that he's put himself through, because he will have been working hard.
There's a lot of pride at stake, wasn't there, Fraser, on this one? So I've got my clock rolling. Well done to Mark Threlfel, 5th on the day. 10 seconds have already passed, and Cy Richardson has yet to cross the finish line. 15, 16, 17. I think we're going to have to hand this to the triathletes. Cy Richardson, a very valiant effort, but he crosses the line 23 seconds down on fellow presenter Mark Frelfel, and a good couple of minutes behind Simon Yates, today's winner.
Oh my word. I got totally annihilated. Was that you at the start?
Yeah, it was, yeah. Yes, that's me at max. Still, I did what you said, Adam and Simon. I went early, drew Mark's sting out, and then obviously crippled him for the rest of the race. So you're welcome, boys.
No, it's good. Perfect. Good. All the results again at the bottom of the climb there, so all good.
Oh man, you were all absolutely smashing it. Oh, fantastic.
Simon Yates, obviously, congratulations.
Thank you.
How does it feel to win that inter-rivalry battle, the battle between the brothers, the battle between the disciplines?
Yeah, it was tough. I wasn't expecting it to be so difficult, actually. I tried once earlier on the climb, but got brought back in, and then I tried again, managed to get a gap, and really just tried to hold on from there, really.
As 17-minute effort goes, where does that rank in difficulty?
Well, just it's a good job there was nothing before it or after it, because like I said, it was a tough effort. Yeah, it wasn't easy. I think we were doing over 6 for most of the climb, so 6 miles per kilo, that is. So like I said, it was pretty tough.
Alistair, 2nd place on the day for you, but can't be too disappointed with that. To lose out to one of the world's best climbers is is no bad thing, really.
I was pretty pleased with that. It was tough though, really, really tough. You know, all the way up the climb. I couldn't have gone much harder.
It's actually the first time that Alice has beat me up a climb for a long time. So I'd like to beat Alistair, but no, it was good. It's really good fun. It was really, really hard work because obviously all that kind of climbing, it's the hardest course you can do on Zwift. It just goes up and up and up, but yeah, I really, really enjoyed it.
I know, in all seriousness, that was absolutely amazing to watch. I mean, I got in the mix to start off with, stupidly thinking I might be able to hang in there. Obviously couldn't, and I got shoved out of the pack quite early on, but a little bit later than Cy did, so I just tried to hold that gap. So I was just continually watching the gap between me and Cy, but also watching the numbers that those guys were throwing out ahead of me. Phenomenal, absolutely amazing. Yeah, blown away really.
Just as you got towards the top though, was there any slight worry that Simon was perhaps closing that gap back to you, or did you have it under control?
I must admit, the last 3K, I wanted to stop. So, and I could see him pushing on and probably spotting that. But I managed to hold out.
Mr. Richardson, as we all know, despite being nice to watch climbers dance up the climb towards the finish, the real race was behind, about 2 minutes behind in the end. And unfortunately, you finished second in the real race behind Mark Threlfall. So talk us through that.
Oh mate, I'm so sorry, man. I'm glad obviously Simon and Adam could uphold our honour, but yeah, I mean, I think it was just all that loyal teamwork I did out the blocks. You know, I sacrificed myself on the flat bit, and then when we hit the climb, funnily enough, I went straight out the back. But I think that just goes to show that I went into this a little bit hard, so my average power was pretty woeful. But then I think Mark did exactly the same. I could see him hanging in there, putting out some massive power, and then I just hoped that when he got detached, he had to go into the red a little bit more than me, and I might be able to get him back. But he's annoyingly strong, I think it's fair to say. He's probably off out for a run now as well.
Finally, Adam, it was a good day for you both. I don't think we've come any close to deciding who's better out of triathletes and roadies. What do you reckon to that?
Yeah, I mean, this course was suited to me and Simon there, so I guess next time I have to do a 5K run or something to mix it up a bit.
Was that the result that you were expecting? Not me getting dropped, clearly, that was a no-brainer, but that it was so close at the front of the race. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. For me, the Brownlees performed even better than I expected, and frankly, it's quite scary given their talent in the water and on foot as well. Do make sure you give the video a big thumbs up to thank all the athletes for their efforts. And remember that you can join the Scott Pro athletes from road, mountain bike and triathlon disciplines over on Zwift from the 21st of June 2020 for a week of scheduled group rides. The link to all the information is in the description beneath this video.